Yes. Okay, when you want.
Okay. Well, hello guys. We decided to go to Stillwater, play Oklahoma State. Have a ton of respect for Coach Gundy. I mean, going into 20 years now at Oklahoma State University, and just has done a phenomenal job. I have a lot of respect for him and the way he handles his program. 17 to 18 returning starters, played really well Saturday. Um, Offensively, have a ton of skill, um, really good at the skill spot, starting with the quarterback, Bowman, and then Ollie Gordon is certainly as good as any running back in the country. Wide receiver wise, um, it starts with Brendan Presley. They love to get the ball to him. Uh, he's a fantastic returner as well. And then I like the Stribling kid they got out of Washington State. He's done a really good job at wideout, and they already had Owens, and then they have their entire offensive line coming back, who's really playing well together. So, um, they went to the Big 12 championship game last year, and look to be headed north on that as well this year. Defensively, they have some outstanding players over there as well, starting with Colin Oliver and Nicholas Martin. Those two guys are game changers. I really like their D line. Colin Clay, obviously, he was here for I think a year. Putnam City, I believe, young man, but he's playing extremely well. And then I like Cody Walter Shield, just a big physical defensive end. And they've got Kendall Daniels, who's their Sam, who I think he was second on their team in tackles last year behind Martin, and then Trey Rutger. He's a tackling machine. What we saw off of film is that they tackle extremely well. They play hard. They're sound. Just a well coached football team. And then you go to specialists, and they have a left-footed punter, a right-footed punter. They can rugby. Their kicker Ward made a 52-yarder last week, and have two dynamic returners in Presley and Freeman. I think Freeman transferred over from Oklahoma. But just a really solid football team. I know we're going to have to deal with a tight sideline and a very loud crowd. That's why all our kids came to play at Arkansas and in the SEC is for games like this, and we're really excited about it.
Sam, have you had anybody simulate Ollie Gordon? And in a week like this in the season, how much physical work can you do to get ready to tackle this guy?
Well, our tackling is something that we needed to get better just from our Thursday night game. So certainly on Saturday we had a tackling circuit, so that we're trying to address that. Um, if they get him 2 or 3 yards, he's going to get 6 or 7. That's or more. So, but we're going to have to tackle him one on one. But we're going to have to get a lot of guys around the ball. So we're definitely understand how good he is, and the other thing too is they have some dynamic skill that are difficult to get on the ground as well. So our tackling is going to have to be better. We're making a big emphasis on that this week.
Coach, Kyle Ramsey kicked the PATs down there the other night. Is he probably going to be for right now, your field goal kicker and PAT going forward?
Yes. I mean, there's still a battle there, but he'll be the first one running out there.
And then 3 years ago, when you won 9 games, you didn't score in the second half against UAPB, and they also didn't shut them out. So how encouraging was it to score each time you had the ball, especially in the second half there? Because like I said, 3 years ago, you didn't score in the second half. How encouraging was that the other night?
Well, I think this too. I think there's some things there. It was a different timing too. In other words, I think the UAPB game was right before a bye week. And so I think we'd gotten up 45-0, if I'm correct. And we just played the twos the entire game, and as you saw, the results weren't the same, 3 years ago or what, yeah, 3 years ago now than what it was the other night. We certainly went to 10-minute quarters, you know, but it's the first game of the year, so we were going to that was the plan. If we were fortunate enough to get ahead, we were going to run our offense and let these kids see what Malachi could do. If it got to KJ, see what the threes could do. And so I know the score got a little out of hand, but at the same time, we had to worry about our team more than we did anybody else. And for us to go down and score that many times and shut them out with our threes on defense as well, I thought that was a really good sign for us.
I'm curious if you watched the Oklahoma State, South Dakota State game live, or if you just, watch the cut-ups later.
Both, yeah.
Any benefit? You don't get an all opportunities to watch games, I guess, during the season. Is there any benefit to watching a game as it unfolds versus already kind of knowing what happens?
Yeah, well, it was more about getting the benefit of the atmosphere and the juice of their team and how they play off their crowd and the speed. Watching games live, you can, they came out and they went fast pace, early. You don't necessarily, as you're watching cut-ups, get that feel. And so we certainly have to be ready for their fast-paced offense. They don't run it all the time, but we have to be ready for that. He opened the game with it. Coach Gundy did last week. So, yeah, I think there are benefits. Certainly you can hear calls and different things that you can't hear on cut-ups, but I think you just get a live feel of it watching. And like you say, you don't get a lot of that. Now, sometimes you do, maybe on the plane coming back or the bus coming back, maybe if your opponent's playing later than you did, but not very often do you get to just sit down and just watch a game. And as I'm watching, I go, man, they got a really good team.
They like to throw that deep fade a lot. Gundy's always done that.
Yeah.
But they're hitting you with Ollie Gordon, and then they do that. How often can you expect to see that, and just what a challenge that is?
If you press them, they're going to test you. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. If you press them up, you're going to get tested deep. They have so many things they can do. With the RPO, with handing it off to Gordon, and then their bubble game, their screen game is a big part of what they didn't do it as much Saturday is what I think what I know they've done in the past. But if you press them, they're going to go deep on you. If you don't, you're going to have the bubble or hand the ball off, because normally you're in a box that's number wise is going to give them advantage handing the ball off to Gordon.
Do you have any health updates on Andrew Armstrong and Patrick Kudus?
Andrew, I'll say, is questionable. Kudus is probably doubtful.
Did he get that scan last week?
He did. Yeah.
And then we didn't see Miguel Mitchell and haven't seen him on the depth chart. Just what's his status?
He's just out for right now.
In recent years, Arkansas has, on these marquee matchups, have gone on the road first. And in 2014, you guys went down to Texas Tech and won, and your team went to BYU first and won. Is there something about maybe having more eyes on you, or just something that plays into why you've done well on the road in these marquee games?
And I don't know. We a lot of times you get your team on the road, you get them together. It's just y'all versus everybody. That feeling at times, if you have a real close team, can make you play a little bit better. You don't have the distractions of as many tickets and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know the answer to that. I think we'll be ready to play Oklahoma State. I know they will us, but I think it's going to be a really, really good game. But I really don't know the answer to your question.
Can you assess what you thought of the run blocking and then just the run game in total? And would Dominion go up on the depth chart if he's fully healthy?
Well, he has the opportunity to. I really like Rodney Hill as our as our two running back right now. RW would certainly have an opportunity to continue to move up the chart when he gets healthy. And you had another part. What was the first part?
Success in the run game.
Yeah, I thought we blocked. The one thing that I thought we didn't have many mistakes, assignment mistakes, and once we can do that, and I think it goes back to what I want to say about Oklahoma State. You're going to have to beat them because they've got a lot of starters coming back. They're not going to make mistakes. They're not. They're going to play sound football, hard and physical. And so you're going to have to to win. You're going to have to physically go out and try to be more physical than they are because they're a well coached football team. I thought we looked that way as far as Thursday night. I thought we looked like a well coached football team, and we had limited mistakes, and therefore we can play pretty good up front if we do that.
How close do guys like Colin Oliver and Landon Jackson compare to each other?
Two totally different guys. Oliver is smaller, quicker. Now they both can rush the passer. They do more with Oliver than we do with Landon. They drop him into coverage. They move him around in their odd package. He'll be inside, outside. They do some things there more than what we do with Landon. But I will say the common thing they have is ability to get to the quarterback. They both play extremely hard and physical football players.
When you look at them a receiver, I mean, you've already mentioned they've got size, that they've got speed. How do you go about simulating that during the week, and how do you feel like you match up with what they've got at receiver?
Well, during the week, we always go good on good at receiver. In other words, our 7-on-7, they will get 4 days of good on good. So back in the old days of 7-on-7 versus scouts, we don't do it anymore. So our look team is our 1s and 2s. So that simulation will be there. And we have some big receivers, some, like their Presley was probably our Sategna, and then they've got the big receivers and we do too. So I think we can simulate that pretty good at practice.
Sam, even with the COVID year and everything, you don't see too many 7th-year quarterbacks, and he's on his 3rd college, so he's kind of the poster boy, I guess, for the Portland NIL and everything. As far as Bowman, what do you say? I think I read he's had 30 starts.
He can. Their offense fits him perfectly, in my opinion. I mean, he can. They don't run him quite as much. He's sneaky. They ran him in a draw the other day, and he made good yardage on that. But what they're asking him to do, he can do it and do it well, and gets the ball out extremely fast. It's hard to get to him, hard to sack him. A, because they're good at protection, but B, because he gets rid of the ball. But with that bubble, goes, RPOs, he's really good at that. I think he probably knows their offense as good as anybody does, but as good as the head coach does, So he's a really good player, and what they do with him is right down his wheelhouse, and really playing well. Takes care of the football.
Ramsey was hurt and had that rough scrimmage. What did he do the last couple of weeks, I guess, to win the job?
Ramsey. Well, we set him for 5 days. He was hurt, and so we set him for 5 days, and then really we just weren't kicking quite as well as we'd like to. And when he came back, he was pretty solid in there. It was just a decide who we're going to go with type deal. It wasn't really cut and dry, and it's his job until we figure something out differently. Hopefully, I don't. Hopefully, he makes them all, and we can keep going. But we have full trust in him and Shipley.
You said the other day that you talk about the deal with Stein, which, I know he's not the quarterback or whatever, but just wondering what happened with him.
Well, I don't think he, let's see. depth chart came out and he had lost half of his starting role. One was long snapper and the other one was short snapper. And I just don't feel like he probably wanted to, just be one or the other. And so, he decided to leave the team.
Coach, what about the environment at Boone Pickens Stadium? You mentioned looking forward to it and tight sidelines. What's your familiarity level like with that? environment,
We
that-
went in
that's
there and got beat when I was at OU. Very, very loud, very, very close, as in they can stand up and look right on top of you. And we've talked to our coaching staff and our players about that well, because we can't let their fans be a distraction to us when we're trying to learn on the sidelines, trying to talk about the next series, whatever it may be. But it's extremely close. I think it's the closest one in the country and extremely loud. I think they have 55,000, but it's a loud stadium. So we've talked about that. And crowd noise will be a huge part of this week's preparation. And we started that on Saturday.
How do you feel about Taylor Green going to the game? He obviously had a pretty impressive opener.
Oh, I think he's a really good player, and I'm excited to see him play on what might be considered a bigger stage. I think it's ABC, and excited to see him get out there along with his teammates and play. I think he'll be great.
Hey, coach, you've talked a lot about their experience. Obviously, their offensive line's got 200 something starts throughout the two deep. Just what have you seen from them, and what kind of challenge do they present?
Well, they have a really good coach too. I mean, I like their coach, and they play well together, and they're playing seven guys. I mean, they got a couple tackles in the portal that are giving them some depth and possibly might start for them. But they just, again, it's kind of what they do that they do very, very well. And you just don't see mistakes. But they are a very physical group. Movement doesn't seem to bother them, which it would an inexperienced line or an inexperienced player next to an experienced guy. But these guys have been playing together for a long time, and I think they have a lot of confidence in them. They should, because they're really good players. So, again, I think this game, more than surprising somebody or schematics, I think this is going to be you're going to have to go whip somebody and physically to win. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of mistakes. I just think there's going to be a slobber knocker a little bit.
And then you said all the technology stuff went smoothly on Thursday. You feel good about that heading into a 55,000 hostile environment?
Yeah, it really did. And I think our coaches really enjoyed the iPads, the watching the game. I know Bobby and those guys back there. We talked about it on Friday, how much usage we got out of it, and I think both the helmet communication and the iPad watching the video went super well for us technically, as well as us getting information to our kids through it.
I think the only time you and Gundy would have overlapped in the Big 12 together was when you were at Kansas, but I don't think you guys played. You ever cross paths with him, play any games against Oklahoma State when you were coaching, or anybody on their staff?
Man, I don't think so. I always get a kick out of listen to Coach Gundy's press conferences, because he's blunt and to the point, and he is who he is. So I have a lot of respect for that. And he catches a little heat for it. No, I don't think he much cares. I think he just is who he is. So I've always had respect for him as a man. But then you go and you watch his teams play, and they're always prepared, and they play hard as hell, and a lot of fun to watch.
You never had any kind of conversation or anything?
Not that I can remember that had any.
Mm-hmm.
I know his brother Kel as well. I know his brother Kel. So
Anything from watching the film that jumped out to you that maybe you didn't see during the game, that I don't know, maybe a guy helped himself or playing time?
Maybe a little bit more on special teams. Alex Sanford played really well. Dallas Young made a great play on a special team. Yeah, Larry Worth excuse me, um, Dix, Worth, but Stephen Dix, he played better than what maybe even I thought he might. You know, I'm talking about in space. Made some good tackles out there, but you know, we played so many guys. I wasn't really disappointed in anybody. We probably got about what I thought we would out of the guys. My biggest thing was we cut we re, skill wise we really did a good job of catching the football. You know, I know we dropped one or two here or there, but some fantastic catches as well.
You guys didn't play extremely well at home last year, but on the road, you're really tough out. What was it about taking it on the road, and how do you kind of keep that going?
Man, I don't know. I really don't. What the difference was. You know, sometimes going on the road depends on who you're playing and all that. But I mean, you talk about last year, you know, we went to LSU, went to Alabama, went to Ole Miss, and very strong environments, and then we come home and we didn't play. Seemed like sometimes with the same energy that we had on the road. So I really don't know. I hope we continue to play well on the road and then figure it out when we get back home. You know, part of it is um, we, you know, I think we went 5 in a row or 5 out of 6 on the road or something like that last year, and you'd like to be that. As when the season starts, you'd like to be opposite of that. You'd like to play in here a whole bunch like most other teams do, but our schedule just hasn't permitted us to do that. We need to go get a win on Saturday and come back in here. I imagine our place would be rocking pretty good.
I was going to ask you about your safety play the other night. How'd you like the way the rotation shook out? And then how important are the safeties in this game?
Very important, you know, because they're going to have to make some tackles as well, but they're going to have to play fast defense, you know. So it's again, their skill is really, really good, and they cause you problems in a lot of spots. I like TJ Metcalf. I think he's just continuing to get better. Jaden Johnson, I felt like he played well. The rotation there, Slaughter's a guy we can certainly count on, a good player. And then HUD can play several spots there. But I was pleased with our safeties. But I think if there's a guy sticking out right now, it's Metcalf.
Okay. And then the cornerbacks, I think you played at least 5.
Yeah.
And did anybody earn more playing time, or were they all about like you thought?
I don't know that we're changing where we were. I think, you know, obviously Stewart is in a battle there with Cuddy and but you know, Snoop played with the threes when we got in there, and he had a nice man-to-man coverage there on a post route. I don't know. I think we feel better, you know, about corner with Singletary and so we'll see. But I imagine we'll start the same guys we did last week. I do like our depth there though.
Sam, Arkansas and Oklahoma State used to play a lot. Hadn't played since 1980. Looking at the series, I'm guessing it's because Oklahoma State got tired of coming to Little Rock. Don't really know. Got to investigate that, I guess. But with you guys, the campuses being so close, do you think this is a good little home and home for y'all?
Yeah, I think anytime that you play close, I think you can potentially have a better game. You know, kids know each other on the team a lot of times when you're playing closer. I don't know if this is a rivalry because we haven't played them. So, but when you're playing closer competition, certainly if have to go on the road, it's a lot better to go, you know, down to Stillwater than it is to Oregon, you know. But there'll be some familiar guys on both sides. The kids will know each other. And, you know, the closer you can stay with away games is always a little bit better just because of travel and the time you get home.
We know Travis was on the sidelines, which was different than last year. What led to that? I just think it worked.
Well, he asked if he could go down there, and with the new technology, and he can see what's going on, and I think he's more comfortable with, he's got good energy, so I think he wanted to bring that on the sidelines, and obviously it was just one game and all that, but it all worked out well, and I think he's going to do the same this weekend as well.
And one more, the offensive line very dominant last week. I mean, everybody was pretty dominant, but now a bigger task against Oklahoma State. What are you expecting from the offensive line? And if they could have a really good game after, the struggles of last year, how big would that be in boosting confidence?
There was 4 of the 5 that, out there on the field that were playing last year, or that played Thursday night, that didn't play for us last year. So I don't know that it's not the same O-line, even the same personnel, to be honest with you. The game Thursday, you really can't, there's really not a lot you can put into the results of that, because we're not going to, no disrespect, we're not going to play anybody like that, the rest of the year. But only thing you can do is did we play hard? Did we play smart? And did we play physical? And did we want to score every time? Did we want to shut them out? And so that's the results you got from it. The smart part of it, did we have a lot of MAs? We did not up front. We didn't have really pressure problems, but they didn't pressure us either. We're going to get pressured Saturday. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. They're going to see if we can protect. But for what the game was, I thought we played smart and we played physical, and that's the expectation when we go into Stillwater. I like our line. We haven't been tested. We'll find out a lot more about them on Saturday.
That's Monday.
Y'all were already up quite handily when it happened, but just how do you think Taylor looked in the 2 minute, especially in that final drive?
Yeah, I really wanted to get to that. I was talking to Bobby, and I said, hey, it was second down. I think but they had a timeout left. So I didn't think it would hurt us to use a timeout. So they ran the ball on second down. I called timeout, which made them decide whether they were going to continue to try to just run out the clock, give us less time, or try to get the 3rd and 9. They did, and it was incomplete. And I wanted to get to that 2 minute because I felt like Taylor would be done at the end of the drive, regardless of whether we scored or not. And I thought he really handled himself well, especially after we got the penalty to come back, and then we continued to go down and score. But I wanted to get that in for me and for them, and for Bobby, to try to get that communication, and it worked out well. I thought he handled it well, and I was real pleased after we overcame the penalty and went down and scored.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys.